Hi everyone. I thought I'd make a video for this math methods assignment. I've had a lot of people with questions and they're all valid. It was a tough one to explain, so I'm gonna go right from scratch because I've had a couple of people ask questions about making the project too and like making a form. So I have nothing open at all and I'm gonna go a brand new project here. So I click on NetBeans and I'm gonna go new project. So if you know all this stuff already, feel free to skip over. Um, like I said, I just wanted to do one right from scratch, and I'm probably going to make lots of errors in this video as well, and that's a good thing. So, because that's what programmers do, we make errors and we fix them. So new Java application. I'm going to call it mathMethodsSwaine. Finish, and I get my standard screen. Now I want a GUI, and so I'm going to right click. And this is where some of you, I think, are missing this part. You want to right-click New JFrame Form, and this is where I'm going to give it a name. And you don't have to name it like this, mathMethodsSwaine UI. I use the same one and then put UI, indicating that it's my user interface. Okay. Furthermore, if you know you're only going to be using the GUI, you're not going to be using this. We're not going to be using this one at all. You can delete it. So that's one thing that's new. So I can delete that one, and it will say, you sure? Always choose safely delete, just in case you have anything in your project that depends on that file, you don't want to delete it. And then I hit refactor, and it goes away, and now this is my main one, okay? Okay, now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the rounding one. So I'm just going to have the user put in a number, with a text field, so I'm just going to put a text field on here, and I'm going to give it a new name because that's always what you do first. And this is where the user is going to input a number, so I'm going to txt input num or something like that. Or I guess this is for rounding because you're going to have to do 5 of these. So rounding input or something like that. So this txt lets me know that it's a text box, and this is my name. Not the best name, but whatever, we'll go with it. And so I hit OK, and originally I want this to be blank, so I take out the text, and there we go, and I can make it a little bigger. I'm not too worried in this assignment about the labels and all that kind of stuff and making it all pretty. This is more of a mechanical thing, but if you want to, you can take a label, drag it over, and you can make it say input your decimal here. Okay. And now I'm going to put a button right here. And on the button, I'm going to say round. And I'm going to take that button and I'm going to name it something else. Since it is a button that will round, I'll call it you can round. Makes a lot of sense to me. And alright, we're getting there. So I think what I'll do, I could have the output appear right back in the text box, but what I'll do is I'll make another text box. Now you can do a copy paste, so I'm hitting Control C, Control V, and I have another text box. The only issue with that is that I just copied and pasted a text box, and I can't have two things with the same name. So what you see down here is NetBeans will automatically rename it with a 1 on the end. So that text box that I just made, that's where I'm going to have the output. So I'm going to call it text rounding output, like so. Okay? Alright, so I think we're good. Like I said, you're going to do more of these, so you'll need more space, but I'm just showing off this one. Now, the only action that is going to occur in my program is when someone hits the round button. So I'm going to double click and I go here. Now you can, again, ignore everything here. It looks scary. Ignore all this stuff. The only thing I'm going to replace is right here where I'm going to add action because somebody hit the button. Okay? So I'll make some spaces in there so that I know where to go and what to do. What do I need to do? Well, first thing I need to do is I need to get the number that someone types in, right? So there's a text box called txt, and I can look down here. There it is, txt rounding input. And if I hit dot, I can see all the properties and methods that have to do with that text box. I want to get the text that is in there. Don't forget, you and I both know it's a number, but NetBeans doesn't, and it thinks that it's text. And so if I call that method, it's going to get the text from the text box. And what I'll do is I'll make a string, and I'll just say, I'm just going to call it temp. And maybe I'll be a good coder. I'll call it strTemp to indicate it's a string variable. Okay, so now I've got a string. Okay, perfect. So what I've done here is I've made code that's going to get the text from the text box and store it as a string. Why a string, you ask? Because that's what is expected in the text box. Now I have to change it into something I can round, obviously a decimal. So what I do now is I say a double dbl, say dbl input, just my variable name is going to be, and now I want to take that string and I want to parse it. So I go double, and what I'm doing here is I'm using the double library, because there is a, double is a type or a class in Java. And if I hit dot, you'll see that it's got some stuff here. Parse double is one thing I want to use, and what it's going to do, and you can look at the return value, the double value represented by the string argument. In other words, it's going to take my string and it's going to make it so that the computer actually realizes that it's a decimal. So I'm going to take strTemp and I'm going to parse it, and it's going to give me a double back, which is fantastic. That's what I want to do. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to make the output appear on the screen. So remember, there's that txt rounding output text field. So I'm going to type txt rounding output and then a dot. And just like there's a get text, you might imagine that there is also a set text. And see down here, there absolutely is. So I want to set the text to be something. What do I want it to be? Well, I want it to be the rounded off version of this double here, right? Alright, so I'm not quite there yet, because it would be awesome if I could just go, math.round. So, I mean, I can try this. I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. But I'll go like this. Say, hey, I want to take that double and I want to round it. So round off dbl input like that. And you see I'm getting an error. Why am I getting an error? Well, I'm getting an error because they're incompatible types. When I do this, it actually converts it to a long integer. And that's not what I want to do. That's not what setText is expecting. setText wants a string. Okay? So I'm going to cut that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, fine, I'll make a long that's going to store the value. So it's going to store the rounded value, round val maybe. And that equals math. Oops, now I can paste. Okay. So I'm doing a whole bunch of conversions here. I've taken the string and I have made it into a double or a decimal. And here's me rounding it. Oops, here's me rounding it and storing that output as a long. And now what I want to do is I want to make that appear. But don't forget, I have to make it into a string. How do I do that? Well, if I go long dot, and you can see there's a toString. So I can say long dot toString round val. So there we have it. And really what I should do in a good code, and what you hopefully are doing, is I'm verbalizing all this to you, but I should say, okay, this is where I get input as string, This is where I convert input to a double. This is where I round off and store as a long. So I go from a string to a double to a long, so different variable types. And then this is where I show results in text box. Okay? And I haven't checked it yet, so I hope this works. Oh yeah. That's just an error, not an error, that's just saying, hey, you deleted that main class, remember? You deleted that other one? You want to set this one as the main class? And I say, yeah, I sure do. And then it'll run. and hopefully the Java window will pop up. Hopefully my computer doesn't crash because it's making a very strange noise right now. Okay, so I'll input a decimal number. Let's go with 3.1415, and I round. And of course I get an error. So I can't say that I meant to get this error, that would be a lie. But this is something that happens to us programmers. We code and we get errors, and some of you are probably watching this video and knowing what my error is. So I'm going to pause my video, and then I'm going to find my error, and I'll come back. Okay, I'm back. I think my error, well, I know my error's here. So I didn't take enough time to look carefully at the method I chose. So here I was converting the input to a double, and I chose parse double. That's not actually what I want. What I want is to use the value of, there we go, the value of method in the double library and feed it a string, and it's going to spit out a double value. Alright, so I think that this will work. Okay, run it. Notice it doesn't ask me what the main is anymore because I've already set that. Okay, and 3.1415 and round. Alright, one sec. Alright, I'm back. Now, again, I won't lie to you, I'm tempted to go back and delete, this video and pretend that I didn't make any errors, but that's not how programming works. We make errors, and we must embrace the fact that we do make errors, and we have to figure out how to solve them. So I'm going to show you that I made an error, and I'm not upset about it. But what I noticed is this. It's an empty string. So the problem is, hey, empty string, that means like it got a blank. So it's like it didn't even get my input. And that made me think, wait a minute, maybe it didn't get my input. And I click here and I notice, oh, look what I did. I made that box my output, and this box is my input. So I have them mixed up. So I'm just going to move them around. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that's the problem. And so if it's not the problem, then I might retire. But I'm pretty sure that's going to be it. I'm positive that's going to be it. So let's quit running the program, and now we're going to run it now that we've got our text boxes aligned, and the stars are aligned properly for this program to work. I'm sure of it. So, here we go. 3.141. Round it. Yeah, there we go. See, it feels so good when you get it going. It's very frustrating. Programming can be very frustrating, but it feels very good when it works. So, it rounded. Fantastic. That's great. So there's the rounding thing done. Now, that's not actually why I wanted to make this video, so I'm still not quite where I want to be. I know this is a long video. Where I wanted to be is, you guys had questions about the methods. What kind of methods do you want, Mr. Swaine? So what we're going to do here is we're going to make a method that is going to take the input from the text box and it's going to round it off. So basically I'm going to take these and I'm going to put it into a method. Now you're going to see how I'm going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, go down here, say public static, and I want to ask myself, is this method going to return something? Yeah, it's going to return a long value. Okay, so it's going to return a long, and what does this method do? Well, it takes a string, and it's going to convert to, or actually, you know what we could do? We can call it round off. I'll just call it round off. And we have to give it a string. So what our method is going to do is it's going to round off, let's call it round off string. We're going to feed it a string, and it's going to round off that string. It's going to, well, behind the scenes, it's going to convert it into a number, a decimal, and it's going to give us back a long value that is rounded off. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these lines, and I'm going to put them in here in the method. And then rather than calling those lines up here, I say I'm going to round off string. And the string I want to round off is txt. Well, it's right here. I might as well just copy and paste. So I'm going to cut that and paste it there. Okay. And here I say long round val equals. Don't need this line actually at all. And I'm now rounding off this. And at the end of my method, I must return the value that I come up with. Okay. So for those of you who haven't seen anything like this before, I haven't changed the functionality of my program at all. It's going to do the exact same thing you just saw. But what I've done is I've made my own method that will take any string that I give it, and it will round it off and give you back the long rounded off value. Hopefully that makes some sense. Okay, and so I'm just going to put return. Oh my goodness. There we go. Okay. And then up here I'll add a comment that says take text box input and feed that input to method round off string. So again, we get the text from the text box. We feed that as a parameter to round off string. And so round off string is down here. It takes the parameter as s. So whatever we feed through, it's going to change it to a double, round it off, and return that value. And then we just happen to, here on the next line, take that returned value, the round val, and we put it in the text box. So again, let's just make sure that this works. But again, it shouldn't change the functionality of the program. It's just a different way to do it using a method. And that's really what I wanted. I wanted to make sure that you guys knew what it meant to use a method. Perfect. So it rounded it up in that case. And if I go 3.02, that should round it down to 3, and there you go. It works. Okay, now, last thing I want, I know this is a long video, my apologies, but right here is what we call Java doc formatting. So every time I make a method, I should have some comments up here. And this was just round. So the title of the method would go here, round off string. And I just say, it's kind of like the back of a book when you go into a bookstore. Like, what does it do? Well, it rounds off any given string. I should do a little better. I'm trying to rush it. Okay, so it takes a string input and converts it to a double and rounds it off. And the parameters here, the parameter, we need one parameter, so it's a string s, which is the, in quotes, I guess, text value to convert and round. And then I would add return, because I want to tell it what the return value is as well. And it returns a long, which is the rounded off value. So what I've just done is I've created my own method, and I named it, I know what it does, and I've left some comments that are very nice so someone who wants to use it can actually see what happens. Okay? Last thing I'll do while I'm here, I guess, so I'll save. And just be aware where your projects are going. I have a NetBeans projects folder, and all of my NetBeans projects go in here. So if I look for math methods, there it is. And if I want to hand that in, I just right-click and I compress. For you, if you're on a Windows PC, save it as a zip file and send that to me. Okay? I hope that explains the math methods a little bit better. So your job was to try to make one method that had a return value, one method that didn't. As long as you kind of understand the concept of methods, I'll be happy. This one's not being marked, but hopefully you understood all this video. And if you didn't, please feel free to fire me questions and emails, okay? Alright, thanks everybody. Talk to you soon.